welcome back to Wellness Wednesday. It's Kelsey and Shelby here, and today we are continuing in the celebration of National Diabetes Month. So today we have an awesome guest speaker, Melissa Gaither, who is a diabetes educator and also a dietitian. So we are going to be asking her some really good questions, and then she's going to show us a really tasty recipe. So our first question for Melissa is kind of what role do carbohydrates play in diabetes?
So with diabetes and carbohydrates, there's a lot of information out there. A lot of people are unsure about how carbohydrates fit in. So carbohydrates are one of the major nutrients in food, and the thing about them is they break down into glucose. So they do raise blood glucose. So a lot of people kind of get the message when they have diabetes that they need to avoid carbohydrates. And I really try to encourage the concept of moderation. So moderating your carbohydrate intake. If you're eating too many, obviously that's not good. But then also picking foods that are healthy, have healthy carbohydrates. Maybe something like whole wheat bread versus cookies kind of thing.
Yeah. Would you say that there's a particular food that you find is difficult for those with diabetes?
One of the big ones that people have trouble with is pasta. Pasta is not off limits with diabetes, but it is relatively high in carbohydrates. So, and in America, we tend to be used to eating big portions of pasta. So a cup of pasta is about 220 calories and 42 grams of carbohydrate, and that's just for a cup. And we are used to eating a lot more than that. So that's where it's hard to moderate your carbohydrate intake when you're eating a lot of pasta.
Are there any alternatives to pasta that you could use?
Yes, and that's what our recipe is gonna do today. And this is a spaghetti squash. So a spaghetti squash is a winter squash. So it's in season now, which is a good thing. The nice thing about spaghetti squash is it's a non-starchy vegetable, so it is much lower in carbohydrate than pasta would be. So compared to that pasta we talked about, a cup of spaghetti squash is only about 42 calories and 8 grams of carbohydrates. So you could eat about 5 times as much spaghetti squash for the same amount of carbohydrates as the equivalent of pasta.
So how would you make a spaghetti squash? It's a little intimidating.
It is a little intimidating. It's very hard. So you have to cook it first. And there's a variety of ways you can cook it. You can poke holes in it and microwave it whole, which is what a lot of people do. The time varies depending on how big the squash is, but you would want to microwave it until it's soft to the touch. The way I like to cook it is start with it raw, cut it in half, scoop out the middle, and then bake it in the oven, because when you do that, now I've sprinkled it with some salt and pepper, but when you do that, it kind of browns up, and you can scrape that and eat it just like that as a side item, like a noodle. But once you've scraped this pasta out, you can use the spaghetti squash, you can use it anywhere you would use pasta. You can put marinara sauce on it, you could put a pesto sauce on it, you could put some oil and cheese, and then some, vegetables, sauteed mushrooms and chicken, and make like a pasta primavera using the spaghetti squash.
Wow. So how are we going to use it today?
So today we are going to make spaghetti squash bites, which is kind of like an appetizer. This would be fun for people to make with their kids as well. Kids really like the spaghetti squash because it's fun, but it's a lot lower in calories and carbs than a lot of appetizers you might make. So to make that, what we're going to do is we're going to start with a cup and a half of cooked spaghetti squash. So once you've got your spaghetti squash cooked, you just flake it like that, and you can see it comes out looking just like pasta.
So funny.
And you're just gonna scoop out about a cup and a half.
And that's pretty easy to scrape out. That'd be great for like your kids.
Yeah,
to
kids
help
would
with.
love to do that. And it doesn't have to be, a real precise measurement. As you can kind of see here, I'm going to estimate this half a cup. This is a real easy recipe. And like I said, if you were using this whole for another recipe, you would continue scraping until all that's left is that skin. But you take a cup and a half of the spaghetti squash, and to that you're going to add a cup of panko breadcrumbs, a half a cup of Parmesan cheese, and 1 beaten egg. And you're just going to mix that all together.
It's a pretty simple recipe. You probably
Very
have a lot of those
quick,
at home.
easy. The other nice thing about spaghetti squash is it keeps for a really long time. If you keep it cool, like in your basement or in a cool room, it keeps for 3 or 4 months.
Oh,
So
wow.
if you buy it now while it's in season, it will be good for several more months. So you just want to mix that, and honestly, it's probably easiest to use your hands because you're going to need to use your hands anyways, but you just want to get that egg kind of incorporated throughout the spaghetti squash. And then once you get that done, you want about tablespoon size balls. So I just kind of use a measuring tablespoon, and you're going to heat that up. And once again, your kids would probably enjoy doing that. And you're going to just set that on a cookie sheet lined with parchment paper. That just keeps it from sticking.
An easy cleanup, which we really like around here.
Right, easy cleanup
Absolutely.
is great. So this will make, I'm not going to do the whole one, but this will make about 20 of these. And once you get those made, you will put those in. It's a 400-degree oven. Takes about 15 to 20 minutes. You'll kind of want to turn them with a spatula about halfway through so they're brown on all sides.
All right. Well, I will bring these back. And Kelsey, would you mind grabbing our taste test? We're going to try these out. Thank you, Melissa, for making extras for us. So let's go
That's what they
ahead.
look like cooked, and that's just some marinara sauce. You could either use homemade or bought pizza sauce or spaghetti squash.
Mmm. That's so good.
Mm.
Really tasty.
That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
So a serving is considered 4 of those bites, and that would be 100 calories and about 10 grams of carbohydrates. So that's a really kind of
Yeah.
light appetizer for somebody with diabetes.
And it's really filling, and it's really fluffy. I kind of expected it to be dense because it has vegetables in it, but it's nice and fluffy and tasty.
Yeah. A great recipe or spin on a spaghetti squash. I really liked that.
Thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. We sure hope that you guys try out this recipe and try out that spaghetti squash. You'd never realize what it was when you look at it at the grocery store, but it's a great little hidden gem. We sure hope to hear about this recipe. If you try it, be sure to comment below, show us your pictures, let us know what you thought. Don't forget that you can always find our recipes on our website at owensborohealth.org/nutrition. And if you ever wanted to meet with a great diabetes educator like Melissa, don't forget to ask your doctor for a referral to diabetes education. We sure hope to see you guys next Wellness Wednesday, your place to get well, one bite at a time.